URS, IQ, OQ, PQ. It does feel like too many documents, right? But actually, validation is nothing but documented proof that a system does what it's supposed to do. In this video, I will explain the validation life cycle step by step using simple and real industry examples. The validation life cycle is a structured approach used in a pharma to ensure that your equipment, utilities, and software like your PLC or SCADA are designed and maintained in a controlled way. Everything follows a simple principle. First, you plan, then you build, then you test, then you operate, and finally you maintain. Let us understand each of these steps in details. The foundation of everything is the URS, user requirement specification. In plain language, the URS is simply what the user wants from the system. For example, let us say we are validating an HVAC system. In the URS, the user will define specific expectations. They might require a temperature of 22 degrees Celsius plus minus 2 degrees Celsius. They might ask for humidity level at 45% and differential pressure at 15 pascals. They will also list requirements for alarm logging and compliance with 21 CFR Part 11. It is very important to remember that no design or PLC logic is mentioned here. These are only expectations. If a requirement is not in the URS, you cannot test it later. After the URS comes the functional design specification or the FDS. This document answers how the system will work to meet the user requirements. If the URS is the foundation, think of the FDS as the brain of the system. For an HVAC SCADA system, the FDS explains how the temperature will be controlled. It details which sensor goes to which PLC input and how the alarm logic functions. It also covers user access levels and how reports are generated. Auditors loves the FDS because it links your requirements to the actual PLC and SCADA logic. In some cases, you will also have a hardware specification or HDS. This explains the physical design of the system. It includes the PLC make and model, network architecture, and the panel layout. While it is not always mandatory, it is very helpful for PLC, SCADA, and BMS projects. Before we move to testing, we must perform a risk assessment. This is where science meets logic. We ask ourselves what can go wrong and what impact will it have on product quality. For example, if a temperature sensor fails, that is a risk high. But if there is a color mismatch on a SCADA screen, that might be a low risk. Based on this risk level, we decide how much testing is needed. Critical functions get more testing, while non critical ones get basic testing. This saves time, cost, and a lot of documentation effort. Now we move into the qualification phase, starting with installation qualification IQ. The IQ asks a simple question: is it installed correctly? At this stage, we check if the PLC model matches the approved design. We verify the software version and check if sensors are installed at the correct locations. We also ensure that wiring matches the drawings and that calibration certificates are available. One common mistake is thinking that IQ checks if the system works. It does not. IQ only checks the correctness of the installation. Think of it as having the right system in the right place in the right way. Next is the operational qualification OQ. This answers if The system works as intended. In the OQ, we test the system logic. If the temperature goes above the limit, does the alarm comes on? If you try to log in with the wrong password, is access denied? We test normal conditions, but we also test alarms and failures. The OQ proves that the system functions correctly and all interlocks works. Then we have performance qualification PQ. This answers if the system performs consistently during real operation. We do this under production conditions with actual users. For an HVAC system, we might monitor the temperature and humidity for 3 to 7 days to check for stability. We make sure there are no unexplained alarms and that data integrity is maintained. This stage is about real life, real load, and real performance. Many people think validation ends here, but it does not. We must create a validation summary report or VSR. This is the final conclusion of the project. It summarizes what was planned and what was tested. It also lists any deviations that have happened during testing. The VSR provides the final status that the system is fit for its intended use. Without the VSR, your validation is incomplete. Finally, we must consider change control and revalidation. Validation does not end after the PQ is finished. If you modify the PLC logic, replace a sensor, or upgrade your SCADA, you must follow a process. You need a change control and an impact assessment. This might lead to partial or full revalidation. This ongoing maintenance is critical for passing audits by the US FDA, MHRA, and WHO. To summarize the entire flow, remember these steps. Start with the URS for what you want. Use the FDS and HDS to define how it works. Perform a risk assessment for what can go wrong. Then follow the sequence of IQ, OQ, and PQ for testing. Finish with the VSR for approval and use change control to stay compliant. Validation is a simple when you follow this life cycle. If this video helped you understand the validation life cycle clearly, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and follow for more pharma validation content. See you in the next video.